Literature for the Snotty and Elite. That's what the cover is for this, which I think is funny. So I was going to read some pieces out of this, and I thought I would start with one that last was read, I believe, by Jeff Helgeson at Cafe Baloo. This is a piece called The Page, and dedicated to inspiration. This is the page. And you would appear in the paper I held in my hand. Rippling waves in the paper, the pages before me, a dorsal fin on a shark circling my neck, my head, watching its prey. I would touch that page and still feel the rose that I threw over the mahogany box in the November cold. The grass covered with ice, crackling every time I took a step toward you. I could feel that pain in that paper, and I could still feel the cold marble freezing my fingers, and the etched message in the stone would still take hold of me the way you did. All I had to do was look at your writing and feel the blood rush, feel your breath on my neck, feel that fist jumping out from the paper and hitting me in the face. I could feel it. I could feel 1,000 wars fought and won in your pages, in your words. I could feel your hot breath pushing up against my neck. I could feel your hands taking my shoulders and throwing me back in my chair. I could look at your paper and see my own window as I looked out of it, and see the masses rising, rioting in the streets. I could feel the tide rising from your thoughts. What do you possess? What is giving you this power to give you such a gift? I look at your page and I begin to feel your hand from under those pages, and they're actually reaching from under that desk, desperately trying to grip out at my hand through that desk, razor in hand, shoving through those pages, slicing through that air, trying desperately to get to me. I get up from my chair, walk over to the bathroom, almost like memorization. I feel nothing but the drive you left. In the mirror, there are cuts on my face.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm knocking things over. Thank you. Sorry about that.
You still remembered all your pages.
I was trying. I know. I'm like, I've got these all. All right, now I've got two here that are about a relationship, and they're short. This is called Who You Tell Your Dreams To. We were driving down the freeway, you and me and your girlfriend. And your girlfriend was in between in this pickup truck where you could move that gear shift and it would mean so much to you. And you saw something that you thought was beautiful. And you said, look at the lines, look at how it was made. And you were inspired by the beauty of an everyday object that no one else noticed. And your girlfriend, riding in the middle, said, that's him. People think he's crazy. And I thought, no, it just depends on who you tell your dreams to. But I couldn't say it in the truck. I wouldn't say it. Sure. I thought it was good to follow it with this one because it shares the you and me and your girlfriend line. This one's titled You and Me and Your Girlfriend. How fitting, yeah. You and me and your girlfriend. We went out for drinks together, you and me and your girlfriend, to a restaurant in Malibu with a balcony that hung over the water. Had a perfectly lovely time, you and me and your girlfriend, talking about life, catching up, and you suggested that we go out on the balcony. And I thought that would be charming for you and me and your girlfriend. But we hadn't paid our bill yet, so your girlfriend told us to go on out there without her. We stood outside, Lynn down the rail, you and me, listened to the water crash on the rocks below us, and we talked. But now it wasn't about catching up, you and me. It was about ideas, dreams, plans, and before I knew it, we'd been out there for nearly an hour. And I said, oh, what about your girlfriend? She was waiting out there for us. And you said, oh yeah, and didn't move an inch. I'm looking for orders for things. This, if people, well, I don't know if people know, but this is a piece called My Mother, My Mother, My Mother. We went to go see my mother this weekend. You see, my mother has cancer, and we decided to go across the country for a weekend to surprise her, to see how she was doing. And it was breast cancer, so it really wasn't that big of a scenario, I suppose. So I managed to put it out of my mind until we actually had to fly there. The night before, I couldn't bring myself to pack. It was 2 a.m. when I finally pulled my suitcase out from my pantry shelf. I kept telling people at work, well, you see, I have to go visit my mother because she has cancer, so I have to miss a few days of work. But I was able to say it so matter-of-factly until I actually had to visit her. In fact, when my sisters told me about the diagnosis, it was right around Christmas time, and there was so much work to do, and I had presents to wrap and a meal to prepare, and Christmas was supposed to be a happy time, that I managed to postpone even thinking about it until we decided to surprise her for a visit. And then I had to pack, to decide what to take, what to leave behind, put my life into a little black box with a handle and wheels, and go. It shouldn't be like this, and I knew that. I knew that I shouldn't be visiting my mother under these circumstances, and I knew that she wouldn't ever want to think about bad things because things would always make her cry if they were bad, and this would just make her want to cry and cry, because the only reason why we're there is because things are bad. But I wasn't supposed to think that way. Things would be just fine. So I finished packing at like 4 a.m, and the next thing I remember is that I was on the plane with my sisters, cracking jokes as we picked up our rental car, and then we got to see Mom and Dad's house and actually get there. And everyone was so happy to see each other. It was like one big family reunion, and we were all laughing and talking and trying to figure out where everyone was going to sleep. And the sisters and Dad had walked into the front room to see if the couches were good enough to sleep on, or if we'd have to get one of those air mattresses, and then I was alone in the den with Mom. So I suddenly became serious, and I sat down next to her, and I asked her how she was really doing. And that's when she started to cry, saying that the cancer spread. But what she was most concerned with was the fact that she didn't want to upset and spoil the time that we came to see her. But what I don't think she understood was that we couldn't have come at a better time, and nothing she could do would spoil our trip. Thank you. I think I've got one more. Yes, I do, because it's goofy. This one is Transcribing Dreams. This makes me think of the early days with the Cafe Aloha, David Rubin reading out his dream stuff, and it was probably when I did that first year in 97 or something. This is one of those dreams poems. This is Transcribing Dreams 3. I was walking into the living room, and there was this 10-gallon fish tank there. You had just bought it. You were looking at the fish. That's when I walked over. And then I saw a shark fish in the tank, one about 8 inches long. And he was at the bottom, killing and eating a 4-inch fish. There were other 1-inch fish swimming along the top, neon tetras, small things. And I walked over, and the shark was just eating this 4-inch fish. And soon he just completely ate it. It was completely gone. And you were just looking. You couldn't believe believe that you could do nothing to save this fish. And then another 4-inch fish came out of hiding from behind a plant and the left side of the plant tank, and he darted around. It looked like he was in a state of panic. Maybe he breathed the blood of his other 4-inch fish, his ally, his family, and he started darting around some more. And then the shark was just sitting there at the bottom of the tank, and the other fish kept darting. And then the shark opened his mouth, and in a darting panic, the 4-inch fish swam straight into the shark's mouth. All it had to do was close his mouth and swallow the fish whole. There was no fight like with the first one. There was no struggle. And I looked over at you, and you were amazed that the shark just ate your 2 fish, which probably cost over $10 each, and that they just didn't get along in the tank with each other. And I looked at the tank, and I saw those 1-inch neon tetras darting along the top of the water. They knew they'd be victims later, trapped in this little cage, and the shark would just wait until he was bored, until he administered his punishment. And I wanted to ask why you bought all of these different sized fish and expected them to get along and live together peacefully. I mean, maybe you didn't realize that the shark would need more food than he was prepared to buy them. Besides, a shark that size shouldn't even be alone in a tank that small as 10 gallons. He needs room to grow. But before I could say anything, I saw the shark swim to the top of the water, push his head and nose out of the top of the water, open the lid of the top of the aquarium. You weren't looking, so I told you to look at the top, but not to get too close. And the shark just sat there, looking at you, as if he wanted you to know what a good eater he was. It was almost as if he was looking to you for approval. Some of you may have heard it or not. I have no idea how this will go, but I hope you appreciate this emotional piece. It's called Everything Was Alive and Dying. I had a dream the other night. I walked out of the city to a forest, and the streets were neatly paved with bicycle paths, and there were trash cans every 50 feet, and trash every 10. And there was a raccoon. She came right up to me. She had a few little baby raccoons following her. It was so cute. I wish I had my camera. And she spoke to me, and she said, "Thank you. Thank you for not buying furs. I know you humans are pretty smart. You've got to be able to figure out a way to keep yourselves warm without killing me." And I said, "You know, they don't do it for warmth. They do it for fashion. They do it for power." And she said, "I know, but thank you anyway." And then I walked a little further, and there was a stray cat, and she still had her little neon collar on with a little bell. And she walked a few feet, and she stretched her front paws. Oh, she looked so adorable. And then she walked right up to me, and she said, "Thank you." And I said, "For what?" And then she looked at me for a moment, and her little ears were sticking straight up. And she said, "In some countries, I'm considered a delicacy." And I said, how do you know of these things?" And she said, "When somebody eats one of you, word gets around." And then she just looked at me for another moment, and then she said, "And in some countries, the cow is sacred. Wouldn't they love to see how you humans prepare them for slaughter, how you hang them upside down so they're still beating, hearts will drain out all the blood for you?" And I said, "Don't put me in that category." And she said, "Isn't it funny how arbitrary your decision to eat meat is?" And I said, No, stop. Don't put me in that category. I don't eat meat." And she said, "I know. And then I walked deeper in the forest, managed to get away from the picnic tables and the outhouses that line the forest edges. The roaring cars gave way to the rustling of tree branches, the crackling of falling leaves under my step. When the wind tunneled through, the wind whistled and sang as it flew past the bark and leaves. I walked and listened to the crack of dead branches under my feet, and I felt a branch across my shoulder, and I looked up, and I could almost hear the trees speak to me, and they said, "Thank you for letting the endangered animals live here amongst us. We do think they're so pretty, and it would be a shame to see them go. And thank you for recycling paper, because you're saving us for just a little while longer. We've been on this planet for so long, embedded in the earth. We do have souls, you know. We cling with our roots. We don't want to let go." And I said, I don't do much. I don't do enough." And they said, "We know, but we'll take what we can get." And then I woke up in a sweat. So tell me, Bob Dole, so tell me Newt Gingrich, so tell me Pat Buchanan, so tell me Jesse Helms, so tell me Barack Obama, so tell me Jane Sibelius. If you woke up from that dream, would you be in a sweat too? I mean, do you even know why we should save the rainforest? Oh, preserve the delicate balance. Just tear the whole forest down. What difference does it make? Put in some orange groves, or concentrate orange juice could be a little bit cheaper. Did you know that medical researchers have a very, very hard time trying to come up with synthetic cures for diseases all on their own? It first helps if they could actually find that substance in nature, and a tree in a rainforest with a cure might be the only one of its species, or one like it might be 2 miles away from it instead of right next to it. I wonder how many cures we've destroyed to plant more orange groves. Serves us right. You know, my motives aren't selfless. I know these things are worthwhile in my life. I'd like to find a cure to these diseases before I die of them. And I'm not just a vegetarian because I think it's wrong to kill an animal unless they have to. I also know the excess protein pulls the calcium away from my bones and gives me osteoporosis. And the excess fat gives me heart attacks. And I know that we could be feeding 10 times more people with the same resources used for meat production. You know, I know you're looking at me and calling me an extremist, but I'm sitting here, looking around me, looking at all the destruction caused by family values, and thinking that the right, moral, nonviolent decisions are also those extreme ones. Everything is linked here. We destroy our animals so that we can be wasteful and violent. We destroy our plants. We destroy our earth. We're even destroying our air. We wreak havoc on our soil and the atmosphere. We dump our wastes into our lakes. We pump aerosol cans and exhaust pipes. And you tell me I'm extreme. And these animals and forests keep calling out to me. The oceans, the wind. And I'm beginning to think that we just keep doing it because we don't know how to stop. And deep inside we feel all the pain of all that we've killed. And we try to control it by popping chemical-filled painkillers. And we live through the guilt by taking caffeine, nicotine, morphine. And we keep ourselves thin with saccharin. And we keep ourselves sane with our alcohol poisoning. And when that's not enough, maybe a line of Coke. Maybe shoot ourselves in the head in front of the mirror in the master bedroom. Or maybe just take some pills, walk into the garage, turn on the car, and just fall asleep. In the wild, you have no power over anyone else. Now that we're civilized, we create our own wild. Maybe when we have all this power, the only choice we have is to destroy ourselves. And so we do. I remember.